Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is Learning Life Skills Together weekly Zoom meeting number 86. And I'm here with Kathy Hrenko, who is an art therapist and is going to talk to us about things that we can make and do and see. And so, as always, we begin with practice to help settle us down so that we're ready to listen and think. So let's do a practice not with our eyes, but with our ears. Just so that we don't spend the whole time talking about eyes. So if you'd like and you're in a place and a position where you could close your eyes. Otherwise, our ears are on all the time. We have eyelids, but we're not given earlids. So however it is for you, you could turn your attention to this moment. And you might notice what it's like in your body in this moment. Just can you come to a little more rest maybe than you are starting from? Just allowing your body to be where it is, to settle in a little bit. And as you're doing that, you may notice that your ears are open and that sounds are coming in. And so we don't have to make choices about what comes to our eardrums. Sounds just come and then they go. And so as you settle in, maybe just settling in with the sounds coming and going. So one sound would be my voice, which is coming and going. And there are other sounds you might notice. Maybe there's a background sound that seems to go on and on and on. Sometimes we think that sounds are constant, but they're just there for a longer time. Be just aware of that. You might notice sounds that are up close. You might notice sounds that are more distant. You might notice that you're trying to figure out what a sound is. What is that there that's happening now? And so we do these things we like to know, but it's just an event. We don't necessarily need to run it down and figure out what it is. We can just let it happen and let it go by. So just aware of what's being received by your eardrums. maybe letting it happen and just letting it be. So we're kind of sitting in the center of all the sound that comes to us from behind, from either side, from in front of us, from above us, from below us. You really are the center of our world. And as we just let sound come and go, we're learning something about how to be in the world. How to be without pushing things away or pulling things towards us. And that can be really useful sometimes. And so when you're ready, you could start to think, if your eyes are closed, about opening them. You could start to think, if you've been still, about moving, maybe even stretching. And then at some point, you could move, stretch, open your eyes. And so here we are. And just those of us who are able to talk are Kathy and me. And so I'm interested, Kathy, in how you experience this little practice of, I don't want to say listening, I want to say hearing. Yeah.
Well, I found it very soothing and relaxing. Um, I heard the wind blowing outside, and then I heard an airplane overhead. Um, and then it got pretty quiet for a while, and I heard your voice through the whole thing, but it really gave me an opportunity to kind of settle in and be very relaxed.
Great. Okay. Well, this is a place to start from, right? And so, Kathy, you work in this area of art therapy. And so I don't know what people imagine when I say art therapy, but in our conversations about it, it seems like there's kind of two ways that we can look at it. And one of them we're not going to spend much time with, and the other one we're going to do today. So well, I wonder if you could sort of pull that apart for us and tell us about art therapy and what it means to be doing that.
Sure. I'm going to start with a very specific definition that comes from the American Art Therapy Association. That's the profession that I am a part of. And art therapy is an integrative mental health and human services profession that enriches the lives of individuals, families, and communities through active art making, creative process, applied psychological theory, and human experience within a psychotherapeutic relationship. So I work with a lot of different clients and patients and residents from different mental health settings, and it is a psychological profession. And the field of art therapy is based on the premise that the creative process of making art is healthy and healing. And we know this from artists and musicians and poets and writers and architects and sculptors and chefs and actors, that when they engage in the creative process, they feel good, they feel healthy, they kind of get into a flow and really feel that their art, whatever their art is an amazing opportunity to express their feelings, their thoughts, their opinions, and really who they are. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is this engaging in the art practice. um, as opposed to somebody going to meet with an art therapist to work through emotional issues or mental health struggles and challenges.
Right.
Um, so somebody would go to see an art therapist if they needed specific help, and they would engage as they might with a psychologist or with a psychiatrist, and they would meet to work through their specific psychological and mental health issues.
Sure.
Um, what we are going to talk about today is that amazingly brilliant opportunity that everybody has to engage in art making, and to have fun with it and to express their feelings and to engage with the process, just for the enjoyment of it, for the experience of it.
Yeah. And so, in a lot of ways, this idea of making art fits in with our learning of life, of the life skills, right? So,
Yes.
so the first of the life skills is paying attention. And really, art demands us to do that. It says there's interesting stuff. Come
Right.
look, come see, right? And then it's emotion regulation, which we just did a little bit of by just paying attention to sound. And some of us at least got a little bit calmer and a little more centered and ready to go.
Mhm.
And then we have this sort of eternal problem of being human, which is that things don't always work out for us. And sometimes it takes a while for them to come back around to the way we would like. So we talk about that in terms of being able to get through tough times, or to a little more technically, to tolerate distress. And this is something that we really do learn over time. It's part of becoming more and more human, and more of who you are is how you actually do that. And so in learning life skills, the activity that we've put with that skill is making. So it is actually doing what we're talking about, paying attention, getting ourselves centered, and then making something. And so I just want to sort of preface our time together with that, is that we're learning something that helps us, one, sort of emotionally, and even our thinking, to get through the tough times, so it's there when we need it always. And two, it's really cool. It's really fun, and it does great things for us. So with that, what are you when I sort of suggested this idea of making for for parents and caregivers, and then for all the kinds of kids that might be involved, so the littles, the medium aged, and our teens, and then the parents themselves. What does sort of your background in guiding people to make things sort of suggest to you?
Well, what I was thinking about was this is such a beautiful time of year, as the fall leaves are changing and the weather is changing, and it's an open invitation to go outside. We have some beautiful sunny days where the weather is still warm, and the beautiful fall colors and the leaves are changing, and a lot of people are out and about walking in the parks. So I was trying to think of activities that would engage people in this beautiful time of year, to be able to get outside and get some fresh air and really, as you said, observe what's out there.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful parts of creativity is, as you said, it's paying attention. And there are so many things happening in nature right now that it kind of calls us to pay attention. So I came up with some activities that I think might be fun to engage a family to go outside and take a walk and to
Yeah.
kind of enjoy what's going on out there. Um, and then use that for inspiration to create something. And one of the things I want to talk about is in the beautiful process of art making. Sometimes people get concerned that um, they haven't been trained in artistic skills. They're worried about what it's going to look like, and then um, that takes away from the fun of experiencing it.
Mm,
So, what I would say to families is that in this experience, let go of the idea of what it's going to look like and that it has to look perfect. What I would like people and invite people to do is to think about enjoying the process. Don't worry about what it looks like. You might be delightfully surprised at how it turns out, but don't focus so much on what the finished product is, but engaging with the materials and the experience. So, my first recommendation is if you are taking a walk and you have little ones, um, invite them to gather leaves along the way. Um, Encourage them to look for different shapes of leaves, different colors of leaves. Take a little bag along, a little paper bag, and have them gather leaves along the way. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bring those leaves home and take those leaves and put them down with the vein side up, if you will. Um, Put a piece of paper over them, and then you're going to take a crayon and rub, rub, rub over the leaf, and you will see the texture and the shape of the leaves start to come out. So this is something easy that you don't need fine motor skills for. Even young children can
mm,
scribble, maybe
yeah.
with some assistance. But it's almost magical when you start to see the more you color, the leaf shape starts to come out. And so there's a bit of wonder in that
Mm,
experience.
yeah.
So that's a suggestion for younger um, children. And if you have a little bit older children who can certainly do leaf rubbings and try that, they can also use those leaves to trace and then color in the shapes or paint in the shapes with watercolor paints. Another thing that's fun is if you have tempera paints, all of these paints are water based, so they clean up easily with soap and water. If you have tempera paint and you paint it on the leaf that has the most texture, turn it over, press it down, put a piece of paper over it and rub, rub, rub. And then you can lift the leaf up and the leaf shape will be captured in the paint.
Mm,
That's a
yeah.
little complicated for a tiny child. It's
Yeah.
really more appropriate for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, up to 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Um, Again, there's magic in what's it going to look like when I lift it up? What will I
Yeah.
see when I pull that leaf up?
Yeah.
And then,
That mystery of printing. Like,
yes,
yeah. Yeah.
and you can use different colors. You can mix colors, and then see what happens if you do a printing of that. Um, as you get older, your teenagers, they can do all of these processes, and obviously they have more skill and ability, perhaps to capture more specific imagery with those techniques. But you want to give them something a little bit more challenging, a little bit more intriguing. So what I would suggest for teens is um, take it to the next step. You can create some leaf printings and then write about your experience or write a poem about what happened when you took that walk today. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell?
Mm,
Or journal what was the experience like for you in a journal. Another thing that teenagers might enjoy is as they're walking along, if there's a particular scene on the walk that they really think is beautiful, they can take a picture of it and then sketch that imagery from the experience that they had, and they can draw their own image from something that they saw on the walk. That then I'm going to step up to parents or adults along that walk. Um, I hope that you will jump in, dive into all of these activities as well, and try each of them. But also, I would challenge you to write a little bit or journal a little bit about what your experience was as you walked. Not only what did you experience and capture on that walk, what did you enjoy, but also what did you notice about the children as they engaged with nature?
Hmm.
What did you see and hear as you saw from their eyes as they looked at nature and walked through the woods? What did you see in their youthful observation of the world around them?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really, really interesting thing to be doing. Yeah. Just to get those down.
And I have one more activity that is a fun group activity.
Aha.
Um, for the whole family or the whole group that's out, is to gather up the things. As I said, you can gather up leaves or acorns or little sticks or rocks. And what I'm going to invite you to do is make a design with those items. And this is a fun activity for children of different ages because it almost becomes like a scavenger hunt. All right, we're going to make a design with these elements. You start in the center and maybe you put some pebbles or rocks in the center. And then around the next level, maybe you'll have leaves. So, oh my goodness, we need to find another orange leaf that matches this. We need three more sticks. Can you find three more sticks? So that you build patterns around a circle and then it kind of works its way out from the center out
Hmm.
um, with some pattern or consistency. Now, the magic of this is that this design remains in nature so that when you leave, other people may walk past and observe, this is
Oh.
stunning. I wonder who created this design. Because you could tell that it didn't fall directly from nature because it has a bit of a pattern to it. But then that invites other passersby to interact with your art. So I would suggest that you take a picture of your design with the people that made it, just to have that memory of what you created. Because when you walk away, the wind might blow the leaves away, or an animal might come by and change the pattern of the design. But you've left a gift for somebody else that walks by in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really beautiful. To have people come by and maybe add to it or maybe take a picture of it or yeah,
That's
interact
right.
in some way themselves. Yeah. And to tell that story when they get home. Yeah. There was this 4 foot circle with all this stuff in it. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So I love that you sort of as ages are older, you start to talk about, well, you can write, you can journal, you can do a poem, you can do that kind of thing. And one of the things that I really notice among kids is that they're and adults, frankly, because you can ask this question. You can ask the question of when did you stop drawing? Right? When did you stop playing with art? And it's not that young. I mean, it's not that old. It's usually, somewhere in the elementary school thing. And so I'm kind of intrigued and wondering how these kinds of more family-based things might keep that going, might keep that interest for people, and might revive it in parents who don't have it, you know. It's what's your experience with that? Because you meet an awful lot of people and talk with them about art and try to get them going. So,
I think you're spot on. I think that a lot of people think that art is just what you learn early on in school. And maybe for some students that don't pursue a career in that direction, they stop creating art in elementary school or middle school. And what I find when I work with families is often the adults are thinking that, well, we're just doing this for the youngest ones
Yeah.
because they need it. And then all of a sudden they get engaged in that process and they realize that they have not been playful for many, many years, decades maybe.
Mm,
They have lost touch with that sense of wonder and curiosity. And that's why I suggest you look at what your experience is and then look at it through your children's eyes. Because adults will say that they get so caught up in a life of busyness, they forget to notice. They forget to appreciate. They forget to engage because they're just busy walking quickly through life. And so this is an opportunity, not just for your youngest children, but for the family as a whole to bring that mystery, that magic, that wonder back into your family because everybody needs opportunities to relax and to take a deep breath and just to spend time together in a relaxed and peaceful way. And engaging in something as beautiful as nature is really, a lot of people will say that it is very healing and inspiring, and it makes them feel peaceful and relaxed and more connected actually with their family members.
yeah. Yeah. And so, what you were talking about earlier of not worrying so much about the final product, but
Right.
just getting involved in the activity itself. Um, I love that. I think that the parents really need to think of it in that way. And as you say, they can take this on themselves. They can, they can join in, they can do those things. Because there's kind of, as you said, there's like, okay, well, the littles are really going to enjoy this, and the rest of us will sort of, and to feed on the joy of the little ones, or to remember when you were a little one.
Mhm.
Is there something in that that brings things along? Because
Well, I would agree that our children look to us to see how to
yeah,
manage around the world, right? So there's almost so the children may be joyfully walking along, and then as they turn and see that the adults are joyfully walking along and grabbing leaves and picking up something, that almost gives permission to the children that, oh, we are all going to have fun here. Look. And sometimes the children will be amazed to see mom or dad in a different role because they're usually so busy. So when you
yeah,
you notice that they are having just as much fun, it actually makes the children more joyful because they see the adults in their life having fun as well and enjoying playfulness. And that's a good message that you want to instill in your children, that you're never too old to have fun. You're never too old to try something new. And even if it doesn't look perfect the first time, we'll try another one. We'll rub
yeah,
another leaf and see what happens. That one didn't come out the way I wanted. Let me try to print another leaf and see what happens. Just keep trying and seeing till you get it the way you want it to be. And there's no, I say all the time, there is no right or wrong in creativity. Nothing is ever perfect. You just give it a try and see if you enjoy that process or that experience. And that's what is important, being
yeah,
creative.
yeah. And so these projects are just the start, and they bring you into things like crayons, like printing even, so you're sort of playing with all of these media, the things that we can use. but they can be really, really simple. And you can really get a lot out of them. That's what kind of strikes me about it is if all you have is some paper that you pulled out of your printer at home,
Exactly.
and a pencil, you can do these things. And certainly when you're outside to build that um, pattern on the ground, or even on a stone or something, if you really are daring, you could sort of show it off by where you put it too,
Right.
you know.
I will share a quick story. So, years ago, m- one of my sons and I were at the beach and we were taking a walk early, before the beach was really open. A lot of people were running and walking their dogs, and we decided to do this project. And so we gathered shells and weeds and seagrass and all different kinds of things. And we each made our own designs kind of to the left of the pathway where people walk up to the beach. And we had so much fun gathering all these tiny little things and making this design. And we knew that the wind from the ocean would blow it away probably
Right.
pretty quickly. But we had a wonderful time doing that together. And then we went back, down, and then we came back later when it was time to actually go on the beach, and the designs were still there. And so we witnessed people walking onto the beach and noticing it and making comments
Mhm.
about it, but they didn't know that we were the ones that had made it.
Right. Oh,
And it
yeah.
was such a joyful thing to hear people suddenly see something they hadn't anticipated and speculating, who made that? That's beautiful. Where did that come from? I wonder how that got
Yeah.
here. And that just made us even more joyful that it was not
Yeah.
only an experience that we could have together, but what other people, the joy of other people kind of stumbling upon it. So that's when I encourage families to do this, I say, not only have you had the joy, but you don't know, somebody else might see it and really appreciate the art that you
Yeah.
created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, um, leaves in various ways, making patterns out of them, making prints out of them, um, using them as an outline to express yourself within, all of that. And then the whole writing piece, I think is really interesting because, you know, in my experience, the older kids are really drawn to that. They like to keep a journal, maybe. They like to write poetry, maybe. And so to sort of offer that, and I wonder, do you, if that's the way they want to go, do you still try to draw them into the art? Or do you just say, well, that's your art and let it go by?
Well, a lot of people who like to journal um, will are open to the possibility of not only writing but creating art around what they wrote. Maybe it could be lyrics to a song, that they want to
Mhm.
create, or a poem or whatever. Um, and they will doodle or draw imagery around it, or save a page and
Right.
put some leaf printing, and then the next page is writing about it. And so I have done workshops on art journaling as well, and it seems to draw a lot of attention for adults and for teenagers, because it's incorporating different forms of creativity. And then you can, all of a sudden, the writing journal then becomes almost like a scrapbook. Like you
Yeah.
can press the leaf
Mhm.
under books and dry it, or flowers, and then those can be added into the journal. So you have real elements of nature to remember that visit.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to be open to the possibility of suddenly that becomes
Hmm.
an outlet for all different kinds of creativity in
Right.
that book.
Right. Right. Cool. So certainly there's a lot there, and that's just from one walk outside.
Right.
Right. And so in learning life skills together, we encourage people to get out and walk all the time as a practice. So here's another way um, of connecting with walking as a practice and then making as a practice. All of which are both of which I want to say making something and walking are really helpful in getting through tough times.
Right.
It gives us that break. It gives us you know, a really good feeling because we're turning on all kinds of things in our bodies and in our brains. So, so I'm wondering um, when we end these weekly conversations, I ask my guest for a watchword or a word of wisdom, just as a way of sort of condensing everything we've talked about, or some other idea that may come up over the conversations. So Kathy, what would be your word of wisdom or your watchword for us?
My watchword would be curiosity. Be curious about going out into the world. Be curious about your creativity, how the paint moves or how the color comes out or what the pattern looks like. Be curious. And as I said, you don't have to necessarily worry about what is the finished product as much as how is that art media coming out and did I have fun with it and am I curious about what's going to happen when I rub across that leaf, or what's going to happen when I put some paint and then press it down on the paper? What will I see when I open it up?
Yeah.
Just be curious about when you go out into the world and you see so much beauty and there's so much inspiration that hopefully will move you to want to be more creative and engage in art making more often.
Well, that is perfect. Perfect watchword, curiosity. So thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing that with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All righty.